For a former punk rocker who had deep self-doubts about his ability as a footballer, being selected for England was beyond his wildest dreams.
Mr. Clough, when I'd got into the squad, he called me in and sat me down, and I thought he was going to give me a little pay rise or something of that nature, you know. And he sat me down and said, so you're in the England squad? I said, that's right, Governor, yeah. He said, do you think you're good enough? I said, to be honest with you, I don't know. He went, no. He said, I don't, you know, now get out.
England's new cap, 25-year-old Stuart Pearce from Nottingham Forest.
Pearce's international debut stretched plausibility even further. England's opponents were the greatest team in the world, Brazil. For the purist, it was genius against hard graft.
One thing that sticks out in my mind from that game was a tackle that Stuart went into with the Brazilian right back called Josimar. And Stuart went in for this 50-50. Josimar came in about half a second later, studs showing right down Stuart's shin. I was about 5 yards away from the incident, and I was really fearful for him because I thought he must have broken his leg. And Stuart just got up and walked away. And Josimar actually was left on the floor holding his ankle. He actually kicked Stuart, but he twisted his ankle because he kicked him with such force. That's probably the worst tackle I've seen on a player who didn't even flinch.
He shook people up, you know, and people saw that. People saw him, you know, with 3 lines on his chest. And he was proud of the shirt, and he just gave everything that he had.
Pearce's career blossomed at club level. Honest toil and a reputation for effort, commitment and fearlessness endeared him to Forest fans as the club won the League Cup twice.
Pearce and Nottingham Forest have done it again.
As an England player, his willingness to graft helped build a special relationship with hardcore supporters hungry for English patriotism, when the very idea seemed old-fashioned.
He has the lines, 3 lines there, and he wears it. I'm sure he'd have tattooed 3 lines as well. England is my art, and England is my love. You go away with England, there's no one that's not one of the lads. Everyone's all together. Manchester, Newcastle. England supporters are a massive family. It's like, you're English, you're me mate, I've only known you 2 minutes, what are you having to drink, mate? If somebody whack somebody, then they don't whack someone who you don't know. They've whacked somebody who's wearing an England shirt, and he's one of us. So that's where sometimes it does get a little bit stupid or heated.
But the England that Psycho had grown up in seemed to be on a collision course with football. Violence on the terraces was on the increase. Riots and crowd disorder led to clubs being banned from European competition. England's reputation was tarnished, and its status as a leading international team was under threat. The pressure was on to get tough with hooligans.
Any time you get trouble with English fans overseas, then we feel it's a blot on the fair name of our country.
Any player that works hard at their profession, and the World Cup comes around once every 4 years, and the European Championships once every 4 years, if you miss one, you might never ever play in another one. We had the scenario that we might be kicked out of Europe at international level.
And it got very close to that, I have to tell you. It was that far away, I can tell you. I mean, that far away.
England narrowly escaped from the ignominy of being excluded from the World Cup in Italy. When the team arrived, a lack of European experience at club level had put the international squad at a serious disadvantage.
I've had sort of a season and a half of qualifiers and a couple of friendlies before we went to the big tournament. But when you stepped up again onto that next stage, the world's media was there, it was much more intense.
The match against Belgium brought 2 very different characters into the frame. Psycho, the tough but reliable fan on the pitch, and Paul Gascoigne, the unpredictable and erratic talisman. Gascoigne's incisive last-minute pass to Platt resulted in the winning goal.
And I remember sort of getting up and shouting, "Oh, Paul!" He kind of looked and I said, you know, "Get it into the box." And he looked up and sort of like, okay, like, and Platty had read it and just kept on side and hooked it and volleyed this remarkable goal, you know, like the goal of the century, if you like.
The quarter-finals. England were favourites but far from popular. The African champions Cameroon had captured the Italian public's romantic imagination.
We had to shout from, I think, Howard Wilkinson, and said, oh, you've got to buy into the next round, you've got Cameroon, which was probably the hardest buy that I've ever played in my life, you know.
Yeah, with these intricate underground tunnels. You had to walk under the pitch and walk around and came out behind the goal. We'd got there possibly, 4 or 5 minutes before the Cameroon team. We were a little bit irked that they'd kept us waiting. So there's the old English banter of come on, let's go, get stuck in, all that kind of stuff. You could just hear this chanting.
The captains chirped up with a little song. All the rest of the squad have chirped in with a chorus. And that's gone on right the way round under the pitch, and we thought, hang on, what's going on here, you know what I mean? But if it got them up for the game, brilliant. We've scored reasonably early on. Platty scored, I've crossed one and Platty's headed one in, so we've gone 1-0 up. We thought, well, we're home and dry here, we're right, we have got a bye.
13-year-old Jamie Connolly, photographed with his hero Pearce, was one of thousands of England fans in Italy. He couldn't get a ticket and watched the game with his mum in a crowded bar.
So we just thought, right, everything's going to be, hunky-dory, sit here, watch us win.
England led by a goal at half-time, but the unpredictable Gascoigne conceded a clumsy penalty, allowing Cameroon to equalise. The Italian crowd were fervently behind the underdogs. The reputation of their violent fans had turned England into a target of vilification.
And all of a sudden, the Italians seemed to infiltrate the bar, purely just to antagonise the English.
Cameroon are in the lead.
And then it got a bit uppity when the Cameroon scored. The Italian fans were celebrating.
But then England's luck turned. A tense moment for the fans as Lineker took the penalty. Two all, and the game went to extra time. Gary Lineker, England's top scorer, scrambled towards the Cameroon goal and was brought down. England were gifted another penalty and an unlikely 3-2 win.
And we've managed to nick it at the end, and we come off the pitch, and to be fair, the feeling in the camp was, we've got away with blue murder a little bit here.
But in the bars and out on the streets, an ugly mood had gripped the tournament.
The English fans obviously started celebrating, and then that's when the Italians came steaming in. And then the bar ended up getting tear-gassed, and all the English arrested, and the Italian police just protected their own, really. When we got the papers through the next day, it was all like English scum, and showed the scenes actually outside the bar where we'd been in half an hour earlier, just enjoying the match.
The victory over Cameroon put England into the semi-final of the World Cup, where they drew an old and ominous enemy, Germany. It was an encounter that would change football in England and was to set the stage for the patriotic Stuart Pearce.